Welcome everyone to the 29th episode of Conversations with T. This is T speaking, and today's guest is someone who I admire a lot, and I think her nickname should be Superwoman. she, she's the founder of Salam Girls, which was established to help women become financially independent through entrepreneurship, and she had clients from 70 countries. And yeah, you heard that right, 70 countries. She's also the founder of McMaster Hope for Hearts, which is a nonprofit organization that helps raise awareness and funds to support people with congenital heart defects. I'm so excited to have her on my podcast, and she's none other than Coach Homayra. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining me today. You know, it's not every day that I come across a woman who was able to accomplish what you did, and honestly, you're doing amazing. Um, I really want to learn more about your journey, and I'm actually curious to know about why you're so passionate about helping women become entrepreneurs or financially independent in particular. What's your story?
Yeah, I mean, the story that I have, I feel like is very popular among our like our community. So
Really?
I actually come from a background where my mom is Bengali, and in the Desi community, there's a lot of, let's just say, abusive situations, but it's silenced. And I grew up in an abusive household
Oh,
all my life up until I was about 19.
mhm,
I just kind of grew up in government housing, and I lived with my family, my mom, my dad, my three siblings, younger siblings, and I just made do every single day. A lot of fights, a lot of physical, mental, financial abuse, and so I just always saw that every day from a young age. And I always knew one thing, that the only way for me to get out of that household is for me to become go after a good job, go get make some money. And so I was pursuing nursing, and at 19 years old, I was in my second year of nursing in university. And that's when my sister had taken a stand to leave our family. And she said she couldn't deal with it anymore. And so I supported her on that, and my family followed through. And that's when our family actually became homeless as a result. So for 9 months, we were struggling to find a place to live. We lived in different shelters, and I grew up in Canada. So being a Canadian citizen and being homeless in Canada and having five women on the street, basically, it wasn't easy. And my family back home, they didn't understand. We had nobody here that would understand or help us. So it was really just me and my sisters and my mom on our own. And so my mom was never allowed to work growing up. It was always my dad that was working. He was self-employed, so he did a lot of he worked as a cab driver. He tried to open a restaurant, but there wasn't really income coming in, so it was mostly just government support coming in. So I just knew that I had to keep going in nursing. So despite being in the homeless shelter, I kept pursuing nursing. And one day they told us we have to leave, so we had to move different cities due to our safety. And so we moved to a very expensive, let's just say all of Toronto area was expensive. So we moved to a more expensive area, and we had to pay market rent because in Canada, how it works is government housing isn't available that easily. This was during COVID time.
mm,
On COVID time, a lot of people were actually looking for a place. Plus, it was winter time, so it was cold, and so a lot of women fleeing from abuse, they were also in a similar situation. So even though we were on the top of the list, they said it could be another 5 years before we actually even receive another spot in rental, like government subsidized housing.
mm,
So that's when I said, okay, I have to work three jobs. I have to work and make the money and pay. It was about $2,400 for a two-bedroom apartment,
mm,
average rent,
mm,
and going from paying 300 a month to paying 2,400 a month in a brand new city and new schools and new everything was not easy. And I was the only one working.
mm,
So all of that really made me, let's just say, add fuel to my fire to just be successful. And thankfully, I was able to graduate doing this. Like I was able to graduate nursing. And so I thought, okay, now I'm not working three jobs as a healthcare. Now I can go ahead and work three jobs as a nurse. So I
mm.
did that. I worked in emergency. I worked in med surg, and I also worked somewhere else on IT. And I thought that I would be able to cover rent. And this by this time we were already had moved. another time. So we had moved twice now, and it was more expensive in this area because the previous landlord had said they need the place empty, which was very common during COVID time.
Mm.
So we ended up paying now 2,900 a month. So my actual income that I was making was about 3,200 or so from three jobs of nursing, and my rent was 2,900. And
Wow.
that made me realize that I'm working so much to pay taxes, so much to pay rent only. And I have nothing for food, nothing for myself, nothing for savings, nothing for anything else.
Mm.
And like, how am I supposed to support a family like this? My mom wasn't working, she wasn't able to find work. So this really pushed me to look for passive income opportunities, look for a way to make income online, look for a way to start a business. And all I knew was that I needed money for that, and I had no money. I every month I was living paycheck to paycheck because of rent alone, just to find a place to live. And we obviously tried moving to cheaper areas and things like that, but landlords are very picky. I mean, we went through over 100 applications to just find a place to live. So that was one struggle on its own already. And yeah, all of this really motivated me to become uh pursue something in the financial literacy space and the financial education space. I started reading books, I started going online, started watching YouTube, and I just started opening my mind into financial literacy and how I can create passive income.
Mm.
And that's when I really delved into the whole trading aspect and the whole business online aspect. And I realized that in order for me to learn this, I'm going to have to learn from somewhere. So I decided to pay for courses and things like that. And I was able to establish that. And shortly after, I was able to help others learn as well. And then slowly, slowly, I think within 4 or 5 months of me doing that, I quit all three of my jobs and I went full time into it, into trading and online business. I established my brand. And then before I knew it, I was traveling, like I was on my own expense. I was traveling to all these countries to meet these people that I was helping and doing events. And I think it was over 13 countries I had visited in the span of 6 months.
Wow.
And my life really turned around in the span of, let's just say, 4 or 5 months of me doing that. And so now it's been a year and a half only. So of me doing this, and I've visited over 16 countries. And it's just crazy how quickly my life turned around, and the fact that I'm not working anymore, it says a lot. And the fact that now I have, the time freedom to go wherever I like and help women pursue the same thing. I've been there before, where I was stuck in a corner selling all my textbooks, selling whatever I could at the house to just find a way to pay rent. And now I'm able to help others make extra income from home. And that to me is just something that is more fulfilling. And maybe that's why my whole journey started in the first place, why I went through what I did.
That's such a powerful story, and I'm speechless, honestly. Like it's amazing. Like I'm so proud of you for persevering and for not giving up. And like, yeah, like I don't know what else to say. Like I'm just amazed. Um, Besides the financial struggles you had to deal with during your journey, were there other challenges that you came across, like adding other streams of income, and were other people supportive, or did they discourage you from doing so, like by saying stuff,
Yeah.
it's risky, don't do it, people end up failing, etc.
Of course. I mean, imagine this was me, 22-year-old. I was still working three jobs. And then all of a sudden, I end up buying a course that for $2,000, which I didn't even have at that time. And I am learning something that nobody knows about. And no one around me knows about. And I go straight to my mom and I tell her, Mom, guess what? This is what I'm learning. And I expect her to, be so proud of me and this, that. She's like, what? You're not going to be focusing on work anymore. What are you going to do? How are we going to survive? And that's when I realized that I can't tell my mom anything else until I've made it. And
Mm.
so from then on, I had to secretly do meetings, secretly watch videos during my lunch breaks or work breaks. I was just pretty much living at the hospital at that time because I was working so much. I was doing all of this education. So I didn't actually get out of working until I was actually creating some sort of income from from trading and from my business online. I had to keep working, and that was the hard part because now working alone, you're tired, you come home, you see your mom, you see your family, you want to watch TV, but now you can't. Now you're on your side hustle.
Mm.
And now you have your family and friends wondering what are you doing. And that's when I started social media. And So it's only been a year and a half that I've actually had my social media on TikTok and Instagram. And that time, I remember I had my private account for the longest time, and I made a public account, and I was displaying everything with the full, full passion of what I'm doing and everything. And I was expecting, my friends, my nursing friends, and everyone to say, "Wow, congrats!" But the first thing they're like, "It's a scam. What are you doing? You're wasting your life. You're not gonna get successful." And they're like, "Oh, you're harming people, or you're teaching people about feminism or things like that. This is an Islamic." A lot of things that they said, and people had hurt me, but I didn't take it as a shot at me. I just knew where I was going with it because I was already doing the research about this space and about everything. I knew the whole world was moving towards online income. So I
Mhm.
said, you know what, let me keep going. But I remember there was a day that I was like, you know what? I went to my manager and I said, can you give me extra shifts? And at that time, I was like, let me turn back from everything I'm doing. But because I was already persevering so much in everything,
Mhm.
I think God really saw that I need to do this. And I had actually injured my back that day when I asked my manager. And I actually injured my thumb and my back that day. And
Mhm.
guess what? I couldn't work anymore. So that's when I was really forced into doing this full time, even though I had no intention of going like leaving my jobs or anything right at that moment. I still wasn't making enough income to really leave my jobs. I just said, you know what? I got injured. I won't get any sick leave. I have to keep going. So there was a lot of societal pressures, a lot of friends and family saying this. And that's when I realized your friends and family will not support you. You
Mhm.
have to go ahead and do what you have to do. When you're on this path to success, people around you will talk. You have to silence them. When you're on this path to success, people around you will have whispers and they'll judge you, and maybe you're not there yet and it will demotivate you, but you have to keep going. And those are all things that was contributing to my self-development journey, because these were all things that I was getting out of my comfort zone, right? I
Yeah.
was learning about endless opportunities and I was shifting my mindset. So people around me were becoming affected, of course. So of course I did lose some friends along the way, which now I've reconciled with.
Mhm.
But it is a very big thing where, you start from somewhere from the bottom and everyone around you is still at the same spot. You come back a year later and everyone around you is still at that spot, but you're not. So
Mhm.
it really, all those factors, I didn't know that I was going to go through it. I
Mhm.
went through it, and I realized, okay, this is just part of my journey. I'm meant to be here, but you have to remain humble.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with what you said, and people judge what they don't understand. And
Mhm.
along with all that you mentioned, I would also like to add something. Like there is still some sort of a stigma around women earning a lot and becoming millionaires. Now, from what I've seen on social media, I do feel that's the case. Some people they put these women down because they feel intimidated by her, or they're just insecure or jealous. They basically project whatever's inside of them to those women who weren't responsible for their unresolved issues in the first place, and that's problematic because these women end up believing that they're wrong for wanting to earn or starting their own businesses, and they may also start to feel as though they're not good enough because they're being told that they're quote unquote low value, or men wouldn't approach them for marriage because they're masculine, and in inverted commas, they won't be good mothers or wives, etc. um this is something which I personally don't understand. What's so Yeah, I just don't understand what's so bad about a woman wanting to earn. Do you want to share thoughts about that?
Yes. So growing up, I saw my mom. She was at home every single day from the age I was born until I was 19 years old. She never worked, and she wasn't even allowed to learn English. And imagine she's in Canada, and it really stems down from that mindset where the old generation is still believing that a woman will be corrupted or pollute the child's mind if they're interfering with the outside world. And then it comes to a clash with the new generation where you have women that need to be independent, maybe people like me that don't have that brothers or uncles or family friends to take care of them, maybe other women that maybe got divorced recently, or maybe other women that are single women, single moms.
Mm.
They're the ones that are really going out there and hustling harder, because guess what, they're pushed out of their comfort zone,
Mhm.
without intention. And so when they go out and they try and become successful, maybe they didn't intentionally try and become a millionaire, but they ended up so. I know I didn't try and be a millionaire. I was just trying to pay extra rent.
Mhm.
I mean, more than just rent. I was trying to just, you know, become financially independent. That was it.
Mhm.
So when they see that, the men automatically from that old generation and the new generation, there's a clash, right? The mindset hasn't shifted. There's so much going on in the economic state of the world. Like there's a recession, there's inflation. One man's income is not able to provide for the home. I've seen it with my parents. I
Mhm.
mean, when we were homeless, like I had to work 3 jobs just to sustain one family, and that just goes to show that at least 3 people should be working in the family. So it isn't the case that a woman shouldn't be working or shouldn't go after success or start a business. In fact, if they start a business, if they start making online income or however they do it, they're actually able to support the family even more. They're not out there working so much. I remember I was spending more time at home because of it, because I had time freedom. And
Mhm.
so they're actually able to go ahead and do that. And so people don't understand that. And they also fear, like the fear what they don't understand. So when they see a woman going out there achieving so much and they're not doing equally as much, let's just say a man is not doing equally as much, they feel intimidated and they're like, well, my role is to be a man and be a provider. And this woman, she's doing exactly that. So she can leave me at any time. And so, you know, they're doing the whole chasing game and, you know, they're doing their tricks and things, and maybe even intentionally or unintentionally. All of these things are contributing to the lack of success of the woman, because guess what, the woman will go ahead and try and attain that man's happiness and try and make sure that he is okay with it, or and try and please society. We're always sacrificing for society, we're always sacrificing for our families. That's what happens, and that's why I'm so passionate about women truly being independent before they go forward with listening to other people's claims about, oh, you shouldn't become a millionaire, or you shouldn't go after your own ambitions and dreams, because guess what, at the end of the day you only have yourself. And I've definitely seen it with my life, and I've seen it with a lot of the women that I work with, especially single moms, especially women who have no one, who have no father, no one to take care of them on their own. So that fear, it should not exist, but unfortunately it still does. But I think slowly we're coming to an age where everything is just getting too damn expensive and people are not caring anymore. They're like, you know what? It's good if my woman makes money. Hopefully that is the example we try and send to people, but there's definitely that problem existing.
Yeah, yeah. And I would also like to add that when these men, when they do feel intimidated by these women, then these women shouldn't feel as though it's their fault. And the problem isn't with them. These men need to understand that we women are human as well, and we too have interests and goals that mean a lot to us. Some women want to earn, whereas others don't, and that's okay. If a man doesn't want his wife to make money, then that's his choice and he's entitled to his opinion. But what he can do is, start demonizing other women who don't fit his narrative, basically. Being rich or making a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean that a woman becomes less valuable, righteous, or feminine. As far as I know, I haven't come across a single businesswoman who earns just because she wants to compete with men. Okay, there may be some, that's possible, but I can actually speak for myself as I didn't start my business just so that I can put another man down. I'm passionate about what I do, and my interests have nothing to do with being above men.
Exactly. And the same with me. I didn't start this or start a movement of women becoming independent so that I can put men down. In fact, we're trying to protect the homes of the future children that we are going to be bringing into this world. For me, whenever I was working, it was literally about my mom, my sisters. I can guarantee you, if I didn't have to worry about my sisters or worry about my mom, maybe I wouldn't have pushed as far as I did in this world. But because of that rent, because if it was just me being homeless on the street, it's different. But because I have responsibilities, liabilities, that really pushed me to become independent and really inspire other people to become independent. So we're not even doing it for them. In fact, we don't even care, if we're being honest. We're
Mhm.
doing it for ourselves. And I think a lot of women need to realize that despite who you get maybe partner yourself up with, or despite if you live in a home that's very comfortable, that no one is harming you, and you're doing okay in life, and you have a welcoming family, you still need to uh you still need to protect yourself and protect your income and be stable enough that if anything happens, you have some backup option in your life. That's pretty much how I see it. And I don't ask everyone to go out and become a millionaire. It's really just learn about how to make yourself stable so you don't, someone knocks you down and you don't just fall and stay there. You can get up. That's how it
Exactly.
is. That's how I see it.
Exactly. Thank you, Coach Homayra, for having for um being for participating in my podcast, and I had a wonderful time having this discussion with you. And thank you so much for sharing your journey and as well as your thoughts about the topics that we've discussed today. I hope you're in London, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I hope your evening goes well, and thank you and take care.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.